Hi, this is Heidi from Garden Crossings, and I think this is one of the most exciting garden tours of the year, and that is the July garden tour. Everything is looking fabulous right now. The hydrangeas are on point, and things are just, it's so bright and cheery right now here at the garden center. But before we go ahead and do the garden tour, there's a new product I want to talk to you about, and that is I got a new pair of Hydrangeas garden shoes. If you remember, I did a video on garden boots earlier on this spring, and they were just getting too hot for this time of year for the heat, so they sent me a pair of garden shoes. Actually, they sent me two pair of garden shoes. I wasn't sure what size I was going to need, so I'm normally a size 10-ish, 11, so I ordered a pair in size 10, which these are the black flower boots and our shoes. And then I also ordered a pair of purple ones, and these are size 11. And honestly, I would recommend sizing up if you think you're kind of in between sizes. The nice thing I like about these Hydrangeas garden shoes is that, number one, they've got really nice tread on the bottom. So as you're trudging through the garden, you've got nice grip to get through that dirt. They have a plastic liner up here on the toe, so that helps keep them dry. And if you do have to rinse them or wash them, they do have removable inserts that have a little bit of a padding there, so a little bit of a comfort with this removable insert. The other nice thing with Hydrangeas is that they have a lifetime guarantee on their products. So if for some reason you're not satisfied with these products or they don't wear well or something, they have this lifetime guarantee that comes along with the shoes or boots or whatever it is you purchase from their company, and they'll take care of you if you have any issues. So if you're looking for a new pair of garden boots or garden shoes, I recommend giving the Hydrangeas company a try and checking out all of their wonderful products. For myself, I've used their mid-level garden boots and then now these new garden shoes. So let's go walking through the garden now that I've got the proper garden gear. So we're kind of starting off in a different location right now as we're going to do this garden tour. Our Waterfall Garden is looking just amazing right now, so I thought, let's start at the Waterfall Garden. So what we have going here lining the path is the red and white compact sun patiens. And we've done kind of an alternating pattern throughout this garden, and I've been really pleased with how they look. Normally we kind of do more of the pinks and the purple shades, but this year we wanted to shake it up a little bit and add some of the reds and the whites just to give it a little bit of a different look. Behind the sun patiens, we have, it looks like the Pennisetum rubrum grass, which is that nice deep dark foliage. That's an annual grass, and I just love how it kind of sways in the breeze. Behind that, we have a line of Going Bananas daylilies. Going Banana daylilies are a repeat blooming daylily that will bloom virtually throughout the summer. And then behind those, not blooming yet, are the Blue Chip Junior butterfly bush. So that, once that gets blooming, it's going to really make this place look spectacular. One thing to note with sun patiens, and I've said this many times before, sun patiens are a New Guinea impatient for the sun. They don't love a lot of fertilizer. So if you're somebody that's not great at fertilizing, these plants will love that. If you do fertilize a lot, just really use a very diluted concentration if you are giving your sun patiens fertilizer. Otherwise, they'll stop blooming, and that's obviously not the goal. Making our way around towards the waterfall, we've kind of done a mixture of a handful of different plants. Some of the plants featured in and through this area is the Coleus albrido, along with the Cleome blanca, the white Cleome. We have some Rockin' Playin' the Blue salvia, some unplugged pink salvia. That's kind of what we have here for the annuals in this little area. You do see there's a little sweep there of purple, and that is the perennial. That is Nepeta's Cat's Pajamas. Actually, no, that one's Cat's Meow, and that's just a very long blooming perennial in this garden bed. As we look up towards the top of the waterfall, we have the Suncredible sunflowers, and there's just a nice airy wispy feel to the top of the waterfall with that bright yellow. And those, they don't need to be deadheaded. They'll bloom all summer long. But if you are somebody that likes kind of a cleaner look in your garden, you may choose to deadhead if you want. In the middle of the waterfall, you can see we kind of carried through with the salvia, the coleus, and the cleome. But another thing we added into that location is the Euphorbia Diamond Snow. So those are those beautiful bright puffs of white that are lining the middle of the waterfall. Continuing that theme around, you can see we've kind of poked in all the different annuals that we were using and have also taken the sun patience and have continued to line this garden bed. We're going to be getting into a lot of shrubs and perennials right now as we make our way around to the back side of this waterfall garden. In this area, some of the shrubs to point out, we have this deep dark foliage there. That's the Weigela Wine and Roses. That's a spring blooming shrub, but even though it's not flowering at this time, it's got the great foliage interest. And we've paired that with these bright yellow spirea. And these bloom with pink flowers. It looks like they've already done one cycle of flowers, and they should kind of continue to flower throughout the summer. So even though they're not giving us a lot of flower color right now, there's a lot of great foliage. In the back there, we have a couple of the blue chip butterfly bushes tucked in. They're not quite ready to bloom yet, but those will be blooming with beautiful purple flowers once they do start to bloom. Making our way around, and what's really stealing the show in the garden right now are the hydrangeas. Primarily, these are all part of the smooth hydrangea family or the arborescent family. These hydrangeas are very reliable bloomers. So they bloom off of new growth. So even if you're somebody that has a hard time with hydrangeas and you're like, oh, my hydrangeas, they never bloom, that's not the case with these types of hydrangeas. They're very reliable and they bloom year after year. Hardy in zones 3 to 8, so pretty much encompasses most of the United States, except for those of you that are in the deep south. The pink ones that we have blooming right now, these are the Invincible Spirit 2 hydrangeas, the beautiful pink blooms. This is a re-blooming hydrangea, so when they are done flowering, we may come through and give them a light trim and get them flowering again for later on in the season. You can see we've poked the annuals and kind of carried them all the way through. Next, we have this beautiful white hydrangea. This is the Incredible hydrangea. So for many of you, maybe Annabelle is a more familiar name. The thing that stands out with Incredible is it has a lot larger flowers and very sturdy stems. So maybe your Annabelles are floppers, which we hear that all the time. That's not so with the Incredible. The sturdy stems keep the blooms upright and keep this plant looking fabulous. Another plant to point out right up front here is a beautiful Shasta daisy. This is the Daisy May Shasta daisy, and you can see how it has just a major canopy of blooms. From the top, you can't even see the foliage underneath. A great summer bloomer. All right, let's walk around to the back side here of the waterfall bed and see what else we have blooming. Here we have a beautiful, incredible blush hydrangea. It looks a little bit similar to the Invincible Spirit, but the flowers here are a little bit deeper on the back sides and brighter on the front sides. Again, very large flowers, sturdy habit. You can see this isn't flopping. And we did get a rainstorm this past weekend, and you can see these plants are just holding their own, really gorgeous. Following the border here, we put some more sun patience in. We've taken a lot of the Daisy May and taken them throughout the full garden. We have some salvia, which is done flowering. That will get trimmed back, and then that will reflush throughout the summer. So we'll kind of keep those guys cycling. One thing is not the same as the other, and that is this huge leucanthemum here. So you can see this really big leucanthemum. This is Leucanthemum Becky, and it's planted here next to Daisy May because we wanted to show you an old variety next to a new variety and just how they look different. Not to say Becky's a bad variety. I mean, it's probably about 3 foot tall, a lot of flowers going on, and really very nice flower coverage. But when you compare it here to Daisy May, which has a little bit, obviously about half the size, but full mass of flowers, you can't even see the foliage. So I think it's kind of interesting to put them side by side just to see some of the different habits of similar plants, but that are totally different. Another Incredible blush. This here is a Firelight hydrangea. This one blooms a little bit later on in the summer, usually in August, but you can see it's got a lot of buds waiting to bloom. Another incredible hydrangea. So this way too, I'm not just showing you the best one, I'm showing you many of them. And you can see this huge specimen here, it's not flopping. Another gorgeous hydrangea. And this guy here, this is a tough stuff hydrangea, which is a mountain hydrangea. And you can see how it's got kind of that lace cap appearance to it. The mountain hydrangeas are they're very hardy and very reliable. Obviously they grow in the mountains, so they have to be a little bit more, they just have to do better, right? So this here, it blooms off of the old growth, and so we're gonna just let it be. We really don't trim it, because if we trim it, we're gonna sacrifice our blooms. But just look at the gorgeous flower cover. You can see a little bit of variation here. For us, naturally, most of the plants are more the magenta colored flowers. But obviously we can see in the soil there's something in here that's giving it a little bit of a purple tinge to it. So depending on your soil type, you may come up with more of the pink tones. Others of you may find that it comes up more of the purple tones. So that's just, it's a variation factor depending on your soil type. Another plant to point out is this beautiful columnar plant here. That is the Rhamnus fine line, and that's hardy down to zone 2. I believe it's a zone 2 through 7. So it makes a great container plant for many of us because it's really super hardy. But the thing I love about that plant is just the structure, that nice, narrow, but tall, really looks good, you know, flanking like a front porch, an entryway. In this case, we have them flanking our arbor here, entering into the waterfall garden. So just a really unique and neat plant. Here's some of the diamond snow euphorbia up front, and you can just see how they create just that beautiful mass of color, nice mounding type habit. So if you're looking to add little pokes of white in forms of annual, this might be something that is of interest to you. Let's just take a look at the waterfall from the top down. So now we're at the top of the waterfall garden, and I'm just going to kind of show you as we're peeking over the top through the sunflowers. You can just see it from a different perspective. I think the sunflowers are really pretty, just creating kind of a backdrop or a flank to the top here of the waterfall. Another thing, as long as we're up here, I wanted to point out is we've redone the whole front of the garden center, so we don't have opportunity anymore for hanging baskets. So we do have 2 hooks up here, so we couldn't do another year without our jellyfish planters, right? So this is where the jellyfish planters are, and they're doing wonderfully up here. The plants that we've used in the jellyfish planter are the Kimberly Queen ferns, which are just kind of poking out through the top. We have the beautiful sun patience, because obviously they're in full sun. We want sun patience. And then the nice little plant that gives the jellyfish effect is the Dichondra silver falls. So these are trailing really nicely, and I love it up here because it's just as windy as what it was up at the front of the garden center. So just kind of watch that Dichondra silver falls blowing the breeze. It's just so peaceful and relaxing, I think, when we're looking at these hanging baskets. So let's walk down and continue the rest of the waterfall garden before we head on out to where we have 4 more gardens. So I hope you're enjoying the tour so far. Hold on, there's a lot more coming. All right, so we're going to quickly finish the back side here of the waterfall garden. It's kind of a lot similar to what we just saw on the other side, but we've got, again, the tough stuff hydrangea, and you can see how nice that's doing. Behind it is a Baptisia. The Baptisia were blooming in May, so obviously they're done flowering now, and you can see that there's some seed pods remaining. But I think it's really neat too, just to see, you know, what does Baptisia look like when it's not blooming. It kind of has a very nice, almost vase-like shrub look to it. So even not in flower, it has a really pretty garden presence. And then as we continue on, we have several different varieties of Baptisia that are not blooming. So check out my May or June video if you want to see them in bloom. And then again, we just continued along with the various annuals we were using, along with the Daisy May and the Salvia, just to create the back to this garden border. This is Heidi from Garden Crossings.